The life and sad ending of Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder was born Stevland Hardaway Morris on May 13, 1950, in Saginaw, Michigan, U.S. the third of 5 children born to Lula Mae Hardaway, and the second of Hardaway's 2 children with Calvin Judkins. He was born 6 weeks premature which, along with the oxygen-rich atmosphere in the hospital incubator, resulted in retinopathy of prematurity, a condition in which the growth of the eyes is aborted and causes the retinas to detach, so he became blind. When Wonder was 4, his mother divorced his father and moved with her 3 children to Detroit, Michigan, where Wonder sang as a child in a choir at the Whitestone Baptist Church. She changed her name back to Lula Hardaway and later changed her son's surname to Morris, partly because of relatives. Wonder has retained Morris as his legal surname. He began playing instruments at an early age, including piano, harmonica, and drums. He formed a singing partnership with a friend. Calling themselves Stevie and John, they played on street corners and occasionally at parties and dances. As a child, Wonder attended Fitzgerald Elementary School. After his first album, The Jazz Soul of Little Stevie was released in 1962, he enrolled in Michigan School for the Blind. Wonder has been married 3 times. He was married to Motown singer-songwriter and frequent collaborator Syreeta Wright from 1970 until their amicable divorce in 1972. From 2001 until 2012 he was married to fashion designer Kai Millard. In October 2009, Wonder and Millard separated. Wonder filed for divorce in August 2012. In 2017 he married Tamika Bracey. In 1961, when aged 11, Wonder sang his own composition, Lonely Boy, to Ronnie White of the Miracles. White then took Wonder and his mother to an audition at Motown, where CEO Berry Gordy signed Wonder to Motown's Tamla label. Feeling Wonder was now ready, a song, Mother Thank You, was recorded for release as a single, but then pulled and replaced by the Berry Gordy song I Call It Pretty Music, but the old people call it The Blues as his debut single. Released summer 1962, it almost broke into the Billboard 100, spending 1 week of August at 101. 2 follow-up singles, Little Water Boy and Contract on Love, both had no success, and the 2 albums, released in reverse order of recording The Jazz Soul of Little Stevie in September 1962 and Tribute to Uncle Ray in October 1962, also met with little success. At the end of 1962, when Wonder was 12 years old, he joined the Motown Revue, touring the Chitlin circuit of theaters across America that accepted black artists. At the Regal Theater, Chicago, his 20-minute performance was recorded and released in May 1963 as the album recorded live, The 12-Year-Old Genius. A single, Fingertips, from the album was also released in May and became a major hit. Was a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 when Wonder was aged 13, making him the youngest artist ever to top the chart. The single was simultaneous #1 on the R&B chart, the first time that had occurred. His next few recordings, however, were not successful. His voice was changing as he got older, and some Motown executives were considering canceling his recording contract. During 1964, Wonder appeared in 2 films as himself, Muscle Beach Party and Bikini Beach, but these were not successful either. Sylvia Moy persuaded label owner Berry Gordy to give Wonder another chance. Dropping the little from his name, Moy and Wonder worked together to create the hit Uptight, and Wonder went on to have a number of other hits during the mid-1960s, including With a Child's Heart, and Blowin' in the Wind, a Bob Dylan cover, co-sung by his mentor, producer Clarence Paul. He also composed songs both for himself and his label mates, including The Tears of a Clown, a #1 hit for Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. He managed to score several hits between 1968 and 1970 such as I Was Made to Love Her, For Once in My Life and Signed, Sealed, Delivered I Am Yours. A number of Wonder's early hits, including My Cherie Amour, I Was Made to Love Her, and Uptight, was co-written with Henry Cosby. The hit single Signed, Sealed, Delivered I Am Yours was his first ever self-produced song. Released in late 1972, Talking Book featured the #1 hit Superstition, which is one of the most distinctive and famous examples of the sound of the Hohner clavinet keyboard. Talking Book also featured You Are the Sunshine of My Life, which also peaked at #1. During the same time as the album's release, Wonder began touring with the Rolling Stones to alleviate the negative effects from pigeonholing as a result of being an R&B artist in America. Innervisions, released in 1973, featured Higher Ground #4 on the pop charts as well as the trenchant Living for the City. Both songs reached #1 on the R&B charts. Popular ballads such as Golden Lady and All in Love Is Fair were also present, in a mixture of moods that nevertheless held together as a unified whole. Innervisions generated 3 more Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year. The album is ranked number 34 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. Wonder had become the most influential and acclaimed black musician of the early 1970s. On August 6, 1973, Wonder was in a serious automobile accident while on tour in North Carolina, when a car in which he was riding hit the back of a truck. This left him in a coma for 4 days and resulted in a partial loss of his sense of smell and a temporary loss of sense of taste. Despite the setback, Wonder reappeared for a European tour in early 1974, performing at the Mitem Convention in Cannes, at the Rainbow Theatre in London, and on the German television show Musikladen. On his return from Europe, he played a sold-out concert at Madison Square Garden in March 1974, highlighting both up-tempo material and long, building improvisations on mid-tempo songs such as Living for the City. The album Fulfillingness First Finale appeared in July 1974 and set 2 hits high on the pop charts, the #1 You Haven't Done Nothin' and the top 10 Boogie on Reggae Woman. The Album of the Year was again one of 3 Grammys won. By 1975, at the age of 25, Wonder had won 2 consecutive Grammy Awards, in 1974 for Innervisions and in 1975 for Fulfillingness First Finale. In 1976, when Paul Simon won the Album of the Year Grammy for his Still Crazy After All These Years, he wryly noted, "I'd like to thank Stevie Wonder, who didn't make an album this year." The double album with extra EP songs In the Key of Life was released in September 1976. Sprawling in style and sometimes lyrically difficult to fathom, the album was hard for some listeners to assimilate, yet is regarded by many as Wonder's crowning achievement and one of the most recognizable and accomplished albums in pop music history. The album became the first by an American artist to debut straight at #1 in the Billboard charts, where it stood for 14 non-consecutive weeks. 2 tracks became #1 pop R&B hits, I Wish and Sir Duke. The baby celebratory Isn't She Lovely was written about his newborn daughter Aisha, while songs such as Love's in Need of Love Today and Village Ghetto Land reflected a far more pensive mood. Songs in the Key of Life won Album of the Year and 2 other Grammys. The album ranks 4th on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. The 1980s saw Wonder achieving his biggest hits and the highest level of fame. He had increased album sales, charity participation, high-profile collaborations, political impact, and television appearances. Hotter Than July in 1980 became Wonder's first platinum-selling single album, and its single Happy Birthday was a successful vehicle for his campaign to establish Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a national holiday. The album also included Master Blaster, I Ain't Gonna Stand For It, and the sentimental ballad, Lately. In 1984 saw the release of Wonder's soundtrack album For the Woman in Red. The lead single, I Just Called to Say I Love You, was a #1 pop and R&B hit in both the United States and the United Kingdom, where it was placed 13th in the list of best-selling singles in the UK, published in 2002. It went on to win an Academy Award for Best Song in 1985. Wonder made an appearance on The Cosby Show, in the episode A Touch of Wonder, where he demonstrated his ability to sample. The following years in Square Circle featured the #1 pop hit Part-Time Lover. The album also has a top 10 hit with Go Home. After 1987's Characters album, Wonder continued to release new material, but at a slower pace. He recorded a soundtrack album for Spike Lee's film Jungle Fever in 1991. Into the 21st century, Wonder contributed 2 new songs to the soundtrack for Spike Lee's Bamboozled album Misrepresented People and Some Years Ago. Rolling Stone's 2003 list of the 500 greatest albums of all time included 4 of the 5 albums, with 3 in the top 90. Wonder's first new album in 10 years, A Time to Love, was released in October 2005 to lower sales than previous albums, and lukewarm reviews, most reviewers appearing frustrated at the end of the long delay to get an album that mainly copied the style of Wonder's classic period without doing anything new. The first single, So What the Fuss, was released in April. A second single, From the Bottom of My Heart, was a hit on adult contemporary R&B radio. The album also featured a duet with India Arie on the title track A Time to Love. Wonder did a 13-date tour of North America in 2007, starting in San Diego on August 23. This was his first U.S. tour in more than 10 years. In 2013, Wonder revealed that he had been recording new material for 2 albums, When the World Began and 10 Billion Hearts, in collaboration with producer David Foster, to be released in 2014. The albums have not been released yet. Just because a man doesn't use his eyes doesn't mean he lacks vision. A clear inner heart is precious eyes that not everyone can do. A life of admiration.